Welcome to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, your source for all things outdoors in Vermont, New Hampshire. I'm your host, Joshua Smith, and today we are shifting gears to the snowy trails of winter. Our guest is Dan Ingerson, a dedicated member of the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club and a passionate advocate for snowmobiling in our neck of the woods. And he's also brought along with him two other snowmobiling experts, Doug Smith, who's a long-term member of the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club, and a familiar voice to WYKR, Steve Batchelder, who's here to kind of represent things in Vermont. So how's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Good.
All right. So let's first kind of introduce yourselves then for everybody. So we'll start with you, obviously, Dan. So go ahead.
Dan Ingerson, Woodsville, New Hampshire, Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club. Been with them for probably 17 years.
Okay. All right. And then Doug?
Doug Smith, Woodsville, New Hampshire, also with the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club. Got started because of Dan about 8 years ago, start with trail maintenance and then go riding in the groomer with Dan.
All right, excellent. And a familiar voice to WYKR?
Yeah, Steve Batchelder, Groton, Vermont. Over there on the Vermont side of things, as you said. Usually part of the Buckaroos of 302 up there in Groton. Yeah.
All right, good.
Snowmobiling forever.
All right, excellent. So let's kind of jump into things, and so we'll go start with you then. We'll start with you then, Dan. How did you kind of get started first in snowmobiling?
I got started with my parents. They were big into it. Like going to the Snowmobile Club meetings. My father would do anything he wanted. He would fly sleds through the air. Barb Dutel has some stories. I was very young, or not even born yet, when they started snowmobiling, so yeah.
What about you, Doug?
Actually, I'm from Thompson, Vermont. My grandfather and my father got me into it. They were in it forever, and before my father passed away, he actually groomed for the Buckaroos up in Groton when Buzzy Eastman was the owner of the groomer.
Oh, wow, okay. All right. And what about you, Steve?
Oh, I've been riding snowmobiles since I was little. Probably, riding on it with my brothers when I was too young to drive, and then just loved it. And especially when I was a teenager, me and my buddies, we'd find some old junker of a snowmobile. We'd usually an old Skidoo. They were easy to find back then, like a 70-something Skidoo, and you'd have to wrap a piece of clothesline rope around the starter to pull it, because the starters always broke on them old Skidoos. But we had a heck of a lot of fun on them.
So what's interesting is that we were mentioning before we went on the air, so the three of you seem to represent different brands of snowmobiles. So our listeners out there know that we do have representation. So Doug is a Polaris guy. Dan is a Skidoo guy, and Steve is an Arctic Cat guy.
Yeah,
Nobody's perfect.
It's the only way to be.
So talk to us a little bit about then, explain the different types of the snowmobiles and their purposes as well then.
Well, I guess like what I have versus what these guys, I don't know what Dan's is. He's got a new one every time I look, but I have an older one. It's a 2004 Polaris Switchback, which is, I guess back then was considered a mountain sled because it's got the longer track, different handlebars. It was something my father had. He fell in love with it, and when he passed away, I ended up with it.
Okay. All right, and Dan, what makes snowmobiling in Vermont, New Hampshire, kind of unique compared to other areas?
I believe around this area, we have the terrain, hills, mountains, valleys, and then if you look online, you have the out west is all mountain riding, and then Maine, they got mountain riding, or flat, like the southern part of the state, it's all flat riding.
Right. Okay. And then so Steve, how do you prepare like your snowmobile for the season? Or is there any must-do maintenance steps?
Just make sure that you got good plugs in it. Sometimes from sitting, I start mine a few times in the summer just because of especially with the gas today. If you don't run non-ethanol and all that jazz, and just checking your skis and your wear bars on your skis or your skags, whatever, however old you are, what you call them. Everybody calls them something different. And then, your rear suspension, your sliders, your slider system, your idler wheels, all that, just making sure they're in good working order and spinning freely. And
Right.
yeah.
And then my question for you then, Doug, too, is then what would you say is the most important piece of advice you'd give to someone who just started snowmobiling?
Just try to know your snowmobile before you even go out on a trail. I mean, for an example, I have a cousin who lives in Gorham. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of rental snowmobiles up there, and he won't even ride in town anymore because a lot of them, they have accidents with people who are inexperienced. Mm. So the biggest thing I say is try to get experienced and learn your snowmobile before you even head out. Maybe try to find a field to ride around and get used to it.
Right. Yeah. I think that kind of ties into, like, everybody's got a different riding style. Like, some people like to go out there and try to pretend like they're on a snowcross track and they get in trouble. Or, you got people that just go out for a nice ride. They obey the speed limits. They obey all the signs. They do what's right. But, if you haven't been on a snowmobile much and you go out there and you jump on a 700 or 800 and you start getting after that throttle, you're going to find out that that snowmobile go pretty dang fast. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we'll be talking a little bit about trail maintenance and some of the volunteer works that the three of you have been up to.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
Hi, this is Jay Davis, co-founder of NortheastKingdomOnline.com. As Northern New England's leading digital marketing agency, we will help your business harness the power of SEO, social media, and beyond to enhance your online presence. Your customers are looking for you. Work with our team of marketers to build a complete online marketing strategy. Visit NortheastKingdomOnline.com to see how we can heighten your brand. Achieve more with NortheastKingdomOnline.com.
At Red Clover Bikes in Fairleigh, Vermont, we know that a bike is more than just a ride. It's an extension of who you are. With financing available on top-tier Trek bicycles, e-bikes, and a team that's all about making biking accessible and fun, we help you make the most of the roads and the trails that make this little spot of heaven special. Whether you're looking to enhance your bike's performance or need expert advice on the latest cycling gear, we've got you covered. So come visit us in Fairleigh at Red Clover Bikes, where your adventure begins.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family-owned and building relationships since 1954.
Gateway Sports there in Wells River is a gun store that will speak your language. Gary has one of the biggest selections of firearms that you'll ever need. Just take a short ride down to Gateway Sports. They are in Wells River on Route 302, just before the bridge. Don't blink, because you might miss it. You'll find Gary. He'll treat you right. I've known him for a long time, and he always will.
Stop by to see what the daily specials are. Stock up on your favorite ammunition, including some of the hard-to-get stuff, and ask about how you can get started reloading ammo yourself at Gateway Sports, Wells River.
Welcome back to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, your source for all things outdoors in Vermont and New Hampshire. And we're talking to Dan Ingerson and Doug Smith from the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club. And also with them is Steve Batchelder, who is here to represent the Vermont side of stuff. So, before we were off on the break, we were mentioning as well, questions about snowmobiling and, it seems like every winter we're getting less and less snow. How is that affecting the snowmobilers?
Affecting everybody all over. It's not just here, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I've heard recently that two manufacturers, that Yamaha and Arctic Cat, are considering going away from making snowmobiles. Yamaha, I've heard more than anybody.
Well, Yamaha, they did quit.
They did quit making.
That snow was a big factor, especially with all the flooding we had and the trail damage out there. Culverts washed out, parts of the trails that are fixed up somewhat until we get snow. Then the groomer can come through, fill them in. But without decent snow, it's hard for the groomer to do that job, to fill them in. I know, like, Buckaroos up there in Groton, the 302 Buckaroos. They only got 60 miles of trails open right now currently. And that's really good with what little snow we got, but if we get a little more, they can open up a few others.
Right. So for a newcomer who was wanting to get into snowmobiling, what is the minimum amount of snow that you would recommend should be on the ground before you actually start?
8 inches for New Hampshire. We can't go out with the groomers unless we have 8 inches.
Okay. And so, yeah, talk to us a little bit about that, Dan, too, about for the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club. Those trails don't just magically happen.
No. You have to come out and help.
Yeah.
We got 5 guys continuously coming out and doing a lot of work to the trails, and we keep asking for more and more volunteers, but it's like pulling teeth.
Right.
No one wants to do it.
So if somebody wanted to be a part of the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club, how would they reach out to you?
We have a Facebook page, and we also have a website. You can go on there. Every Sunday, starting in the end of October till trails open, we meet at Butch Elm's farm at 8 a.m. and we work till noon. It's only 4 hours. We try to get as much as we can in 4 hours.
Right.
Yep.
So let me open this up to all of you. A question is there any specific techniques for handling steep or icy terrain on a snowmobile?
Definitely, yeah. One of the biggest things I can say is, especially if you're not familiar with, even if you are familiar with the trail, there could be somebody broke down at halfway down the hill or around a blind corner. Is just watch your speed, and then the worst thing you can do going down a steep icy hill is slam the brakes on, lock the track up. In my opinion, I don't know what you guys feel about that.
Don't lock your brakes up. Coast the machine and let the
engine hold it back
a little bit, and then just bump your brake pedal or your handbrake.
A couple months ago during hunting season, we had Chris on from R&L Archery talking about how bows and crossbows are like every year there's a new model out and there's more, things are getting more and more involved with that. Is that also with has there snowmobiling technology evolved over the years, and what are the latest innovations?
Snowmobiling is crazy.
I mean,
I can say just
seat warmers. I mean, when I first started snowmobiling, we had a throttle and a brake lever and a kill switch, and if you were lucky, a key switch that worked. But yeah, you got so many features: hand warmers, seat warmers. Some of them even have feet warmers now, right? Don't they?
Well, the old Polaris used to have they had the
burners in the tunnel.
Yeah,
tunnel, yeah.
When they were underneath the floorboards too. The coolant was underneath the floorboard, so it kept your feet warm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife's is like that. She has a '98 Polaris that's still like that.
Yeah.
And so, what advice what's your advice for, say, long distance snowmobiling trips?
If you're going to do a long distance, I would at least call ahead and see how the trails are, where you're going, and if they have snow or not have snow.
Right.
Because you could go, say you were in Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, and you want to go up to Jackman, Maine.
Right.
And you don't know what trails are, so you might as well just call or look on Facebook.
What would you say is so Doug, what would you say is the most underrated skill that every snowmobiler should master?
Underrated skill, wow. That's a tough one. I want to say just knowing your surroundings, knowing somewhat of where you're even going. I've been on rides with Dan, and I had no idea where we were going, and we made it, but I ended up breaking down that day too, and had to have my wife come pick me up in Pittsburgh.
So I just want to back up for a second about what Dan was talking about, long distance and finding out what trails are open or closed. I know in Vermont, Vast has a Vast app where you can see what trails are currently opened or closed or have curfew, stuff like that. Does New Hampshire have anything like that?
Yes, New Hampshire has a map online. If you go under Sled NH, you can go on, and they show the whole state, and it'll be black will be closed, and yellow, green, up through.
Okay.
So it
And
sounds
all-
very similar.
Yeah,
to
it's the
vest-
same as
to
the
vest.
vest
Right.
mat.
Yeah.
We're going to take another quick break, and we'll get back. When we get back, we'll talk about the Clunker Sled Classic. We'll also be talking about the Dick Page Ride-In. But first, what is it about a frozen lake that draws us in year after year? Coming up, we have Gary Moore reveals why ice fishing is more than just a sport in his Thoughts on the Outdoors segment after this break.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
This is Bob McGee from Wild Vermont Customs. From mud to snow, water to road, power to pedal, our custom fabrication shop can make it look great. With paint, hydro dip, powder coat, media blast in your restoration project, metal artwork, or your hunting trophies. Come see what we can do for you. Gabe, what can we do for the hunting trophies?
We can dip Euro skulls, make custom plaques or mounts.
Wild Vermont Customs, East Redgate, Vermont. On the web at wildvt.com.
Check out our Facebook page for pictures.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
Hello and welcome back to Thoughts on the Outdoors. 2 weeks ago I talked about ice safety. I'd like to emphasize that once again. Be careful when you're out on the ice, even though we've had considerable cold weather in the last 2 weeks. They've already had a drowning a few days ago in New Hampshire when a woman fell through the ice. Two things. Let's talk about ice fishing today. A little more about ice fishing. Vermont's statewide free ice fishing derby is coming up Saturday, January 25th, when everyone, regardless of age, can fish for free anywhere in the state of Vermont. Across the river in New Hampshire, their free fishing day is a week earlier, Saturday, January 18th. So you have no excuse to not get out and try some ice fishing, even if you never have before and don't have a license. Either day in either state, really a great opportunity. Take the whole family out there. Here in Vermont, we have a special day set aside each year. It's called the Ice Fishing Festival at Silver Lake. This year, it's down at Silver Lake State Park in Barnard. The festival will be held from 11 to 3 p.m. It's free and open to everyone. There will be all sorts of people there to help. Wardens, fisheries biologists, and other fish and wildlife staff, and several instructors from the Vermont's Let's Go Fishing program. As education specialist Corey Hart told me when I talked to him, in past years, the Ice Fishing Festival has drawn 500 to 700 participants. So you can see it's a fun time and something you ought not to miss. The volunteers there will be teaching you ice fishing skills, what equipment, how to use it, what fish you might be after, how to unhook a fish if you catch it, and how to do everything safely. Plus, all the equipment you need will be there to be loaned to you to use should you need it. Or you can bring your own. Either way, it's up to you. A real special part of that is during that time period of the Derby, Fish and Wildlife staff will operate a fish fry station, serving up samples of locally caught Vermont fish, as well as cooking participants' fish should they ask, and there'll be plenty of hot cocoa on hand. So, if you're interested in Vermont's Ice Fishing Festival, check them out online, and you can register that way, or you can just show up and register on scene. As I said, New Hampshire's is the week before. They don't have anything special that I'm aware of, other than that you can fish anywhere in the state. In New Hampshire, it always takes place the third Saturday in January, where in Vermont it's always the last Saturday. So keep that in mind for next year if you can't make it this year. Over in New Hampshire, the hatcheries stock post-spawn brook and brown trout into selected water bodies that do not have a closed season during the winter. These fish can weigh 2 to 3 pounds, something that anyone would be happy to pull through the ice. Within the sound of this radio station are several ponds that have these fish, that had these fish stocked in them last fall, including Acres Pond up in Errol, Beaver Pond in Woodstock, Bow Lake in Stratford, Cedar Pond in Milan, Big Diamond Pond in Stewartstown, Higher Ground Pond over in Wentworth, Hildreth Pond next door in Warren, Martin Meadows Pond in Lancaster, Mirror Lake in Whitefield, Mirror Lake in Woodstock, Ogontz Lake in Lyman, Pearl Lake in Lisbon, Perch Pond in Lisbon, Streeter Pond in Sugar Hill. Now, there are many more around the state, but all of those are close by. Again, if you have time and want to go out ice fishing, try one of those, and you might catch a really nice brown trout or brook trout. I should also point out that all the rivers in New Hampshire are open for fishing on January 1st, and a lot of them provide some good quality fishing. Many of the people I know from around here seem to like to head down to the Newfound River where they fish the tail race and generally do pretty well. It's something you need experience to be safe. The water's cold, and to fish it, you're out there in chest waders standing in water that's barely above freezing. So you want to make sure you got a walking staff and so forth. You don't want to try to swim in that temperature. Anyways, they catch some really good fish, and I know several people within the sound of the station can attest to that. What I really wanted to talk about today was preserving the fishery. Catch and release is gaining in popularity as people realize a stringer of fish is not the only way to enjoy fishing. The fun is in the catching, and if you don't intend to eat the fish, releasing it makes sense. I know that I like to go out ice fishing a few times a year with a friend, and very frequently I throw back the fish. I like a good meal of perch myself, but I've caught pretty good-sized fish that I put back down because there's no reason to kill the fish if I'm not going to eat it. Many of the popular species of fish have minimum legal lengths. The usual reason for minimum length requirements is to allow the fish to reach a size and age at which it is able to spawn at least once before they are being killed. Unfortunately, many of the fish that are released die because the person doing the releasing didn't know how. I would point out that this year's 2025 Vermont Guide to Hunting and Fishing and Trapping Laws contains a guide to releasing fish on page 4 of the fishing guide. I hope you read it if you've not already done so. I'd also pass on some advice about releasing fish from retired Vermont Fish and Wildlife biologist Len Girardi, who lives within the sound of this radio station. He has some good advice. He says, pull your fish in slowly, especially if you're bringing it up from deep water. Can feel it as a small fish or plan to release it regardless of size. When a fish is brought up quickly from the depths, its air bladder may inflate due to pressure changes. A bloated fish may have difficulty swimming away. Leave the fish in the water as much as possible and avoid handling it with dry hands or mittens. Allowing a fish to flop around in the snow or to freeze dry in an icy wind will seriously lower its chances of survival. When you look at the fish in the hole and feel it is so close to the minimum size requirement that you need to measure it, why not just let it go without measuring and wait for a bigger one? He adds, when releasing a fish, it usually is best to leave the hook in it. A lot of people don't understand that. Use a fingernail clipper or some other cutting tool to cut the leader as close to the hook as possible. If a fish is hooked superficially in the jaw or mouth, you may be able to remove the hook gently without seriously injuring the fish using wet hands or needle-nose pliers while the fish remains in the water in the hole. If the fish you are going to release is hooked deep, for instance in the throat or the stomach, just cut the fish free rather than trying to recover your hook. You cannot extract a hook from a fish's gills, throat, or stomach with or without tools without injuring it unnecessarily and probably fatally. Hooks are inexpensive and certainly not as valuable as the chance of catching the same fish later at a bigger size. He says to avoid using corrosion-resistant stainless steel or gold hooks. It is remarkable how rapidly a fish's stomach juices will dissolve a normal bronzed hook. So with that, I'll close. Have a good day. Get out in the next 2 weeks until we talk again. Enjoy this wonderful place in which we live. You can be a hunter, a fisherman, a snowshoer, someone who cross-country skis, or someone just gets out and walking around to watch the wildlife and the birds. Whatever you do, enjoy it. We live in a beautiful part of the world.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
At Red Clover Bikes in Fairleigh, Vermont, we know that a bike is more than just a ride. It's an extension of who you are. With financing available on top-tier Trek bicycles, e-bikes, and a team that's all about making biking accessible and fun, we help you make the most of the roads and the trails that make this little spot of heaven special. Whether you're looking to enhance your bike's performance or need expert advice on the latest cycling gear, we've got you covered. So come visit us in Fairleigh at Red Clover Bikes, where your adventure begins.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
Miles Supply, your stop for all your general business products, paper towels, toilet paper, first aid kits, and more. Purchase your paper and soap products from Miles, and they'll install the dispensers for free. Do you own a salon, restaurant, coffee shop, or gym making a monthly run to the big box store for your business supplies? Save time with Miles Supply. Call today for a sales visit, 476-3963, or walk directly into their showroom, 143 Boynton Street next to Spalding High School. Miles Supply, family-owned and building relationships since 1954.
Welcome back to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, your source for all things outdoors in Vermont, New Hampshire. I am your host, Joshua Smith, and as mentioned before, we have with us Dan Ingerson and Doug Smith from the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club, and we have a familiar voice of WYKR, Steve Batchelder, who's talking about the Vermont side of things here. So what'd you think of that Gary's Moore thing? Do you guys do any ice fishing?
A little bit. I don't know as much as I used to. Used to go up on Lake Groton, or Groton Pond, as some of us locals there call it. Catch a lot of perch, some pickerel, and then like over on Sims Pond in Reigate. That's always a good place to go to. Yeah. But if you go out ice fishing, if it's your first time out on the pond, or even if we had a thaw or something like that, as you're going out, drill a hole every so many feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, whatever you feel comfortable with, depending on how thick the ice is. Because it can change pretty quick, especially if there's a stream or
hole
or a
air hole.
Air hole, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful out there sometimes when it's just glare ice and you can see all the little cracks, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, as snowmobilers, because you guys are here representing the snowmobilers, what's the interaction? Because that's two winter sports: ice fishing and snowmobiling. Do snowmobilers also ice fish? Do ice fishers also snowmobile? Or there's two separate groups of people altogether?
Well, I think they kind of combine there somewhat, especially up in Groton anyway. I don't know about over there in New Hampshire. But.
Well, some of the people that I work with, they do snowmobiling and a lot of the ice fishing.
Yeah.
Like they go up to Partridge Pond up there, and I think it's in Littleton. Up somewhere over that way. Some guys that I work with talk about going to go ice fishing.
Right. Yeah. So we want to jump in and talk a little bit about the Clunker Sled Classic. It was supposed to be this weekend, right? But give us an update then, Dan.
Don't forget the end of the week.
Yeah, the weather is not participating with anything, so we had to postpone it till March 1st. I talked with Butch Elms a couple weeks ago, and he was up at the track, and there was grass and dirt, no snow. So we decided we'll push it out a month. Hopefully we'll get this so-called snow they keep promising every week.
Didn't you start toying with some snowmaking possibilities there too, Dan? Or
I built a snow gun, yes.
You built a snow gun?
Yes. But I'm trying to work the bugs out of it so I can actually do it.
Right. Okay. And what entails building a homemade snow gun?
Well, a lot of pre-planning and talking to people that actually do it.
Okay.
I got the fan gun I bought off of Justin. He's out of North Carolina, Just Snow.
Okay.
And he's been doing it for 17 years. So he makes his own snow gun that can actually pump out snow like the big snow guns.
Hold on. We're in New Hampshire and you bought a snow gun from a guy in North Carolina.
Just the fan.
Okay.
Just the fan part. The rest of it he's making.
I made the rest of it.
Manufacturing.
Yeah.
So, what is the Clunker Sled Classic, and how did it get started?
So, I get winters off because I work for Pike Industries. So I was just cruising on the YouTube, killing the day, and I came across this thing. I was like, well, that would be fun to do around here. No one's doing it. So it's out in Three Lakes, Wisconsin, and they're called Junker Sled Weekend. So they take 91 and older machines and just make a track, and they just race them.
Okay.
And they got 8 categories like we do, and I asked the founder, Chris, if we could use his rule book, and he's like, "Where are you from?" I go, "The East Coast." That's how far it's gone. So yeah, he was pretty amazed that it got that far.
Right. And so, how do you define a clunker sled, and what makes them special?
Well, a clunker sled's supposed to be anything in a barn, field, pretty much junk, and just put a tether on it, your safety equipment, and race it.
Okay.
And it's like 95 and older, right?
Yeah, 95. We're going to do 95 and older.
Okay.
And it's, if it's a liquid cooled, it's 500 cc and less. If it's a fan cooled, it's 600 cc and less.
All right. And so, what are what are the specific rules or guidelines for participating in the Clunker Sled Classic?
Rules: you have to go to work Monday. So it's going to be a fun event, but you're racing for. It was supposed to be handmade trophies, but I couldn't get any sponsors for the amount that we were looking for to do, except for Carby LLC. He's our main feature sponsor. So he made his own trophies, which he's a big.
Have you seen any particular creative or quirky clunker sleds over the years?
Personally, yes. I kind of made one a couple years ago before buying my new sled.
Talk to us about that. What did it look like?
So I had a 94 Polaris SKS Sport. It's a 488 fan job. And I was watching another YouTube guy, and he, on Power Mods, and he said, just build it. So I took my 94, and I took an 01 Touring Polaris 550, and I just merged it together.
Okay.
So I had better suspension, but I could also put a state plate on it if I wanted.
All right. So we're going to take another quick break, and if you're wondering if the snowpack and weather are just right for the snowmobile trip this weekend, Mark Breen's Outdoor Edge Weekend Forecast is coming up with everything you need to know, so stay tuned for that.
It's a St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
This winter, warm up your business with Northeast Kingdom Online. Trying to create your own online marketing can feel colder than a moose's morning breath. But fret not, we have the hot cocoa to warm your business. Our team of snowbound marketers will whip up a strategy that'll melt your competition faster than a snowbank in April. From digital marketing to website design, social media management, and more, we'll help you create an online strategy that will help your business thrive. Visit northeastkingdomonline.com. Let's get this sleigh ride started.
This is Bob McGee from Wild Vermont Customs. From mud to snow, water to road, powered or pedaled, our custom fabrication shop can make it look great. With paint, hydro dip, powder coat, media blasting your restoration project, metal artwork, or your hunting trophies. Come see what we can do for you. Gabe, what can we do for the hunting trophies?
We can dip Euro skulls, make custom plaques or mounts.
Wild Vermont Customs, East Redgate, Vermont. On the web at wildvt.com.
Check out our Facebook page for pictures.
Gateway Sports there in Wells River is a gun store that will speak your language. Gary has one of the biggest selections of firearms that you'll ever need. Just take a short ride down to Gateway Sports. They are in Wells River on Route 302, just before the bridge. Don't blink, because you might miss it. You'll find Gary. He'll treat you right. I've known him for a long time, and he always will.
Stop by to see what the daily specials are. Stock up on your favorite ammunition, including some of the hard-to-get stuff, and ask about how you can get started reloading ammo yourself at Gateway Sports, Wells River.
Welcome back to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. Today we're talking with Dan Ingerson and Doug Smith from the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club. And we also have with us Steve Batchelder, who's talking about the Vermont side of things. So it's all things snowmobile today. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about the Clunker Sled Classic. But I know there's something going on in Vermont on February 8th at 11 a.m. What's going on over there, Steve?
Yeah. The Buckaroos at 302, they're doing the 46th annual Dick Page Ride-In, starting at 11 a.m. Drive in by car or sled, enjoy some world-famous Groton Volunteer Fire Department barbecue chicken. That comes with homemade beans, coleslaw, chips, roll, and locally made cupcakes. Eat in or take out, $16 a meal, or... Yeah, $16 a meal until sold out. They also do a 50-50 raffle and door prizes, and apparel will be on sale.
Okay. And how long has the Dick Page Ride-In been going? You guys have done it too. I think Dan and Doug,
46.
you guys gone?
It's been going for ever since I can remember. I'm only 43. So.
Oh, see, yeah, right. And what about so Dan and Doug? Have you guys gone on the Dick Page Ride-In?
Yeah, I used to go with my father and my grandfather every year, and my younger stepson would always go with us. So, being we don't ride in Vermont anymore because we're here, we still go up every year just to get the chicken.
Yeah. And so, yeah, because it's the Groton.
Oh yeah, and it's at the Groton Town Garage.
Okay, yeah. It's been there, and you see, like it said, it's been going on for over 40 years.
For over 46th annual. So yeah, it's been going on for quite a while. I remember when I was a kid going there. I don't know if they still got it somewhere. There was an old Skidoo. I don't know if that was Dick Page's or who it was, or the Page family, but yeah, I think that used to be a part of that. I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe it'll be there.
And so, we were talking before in the early part of the hour about just how that, trail maintenance work and stuff that goes into, so like the Buckaroos Trail is doing stuff. They have 60 miles of trails available now.
60 miles of trail open currently. Yeah.
Okay.
And they, that the trail club, they've been out almost every weekend. I mean, I think they started even right after the flood doing some stuff, trying to clean up debris and get the trails going. Yep.
And so my question then for Dan and Doug is, like, how does the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club ensure trail safety and accessibility then?
Well, we go out in the fall and we check the railroad beds first because we can access them by vehicle. And then we'll go out through the woods and the fields just to make sure everything's open.
And so to be clear, is like all the snowmobile trails, are those all on public lands, or they're also on private landowner lands as well?
They're all, most of the Hampshire trails are state land, plus we have private land. All the landowners, farmland.
Yeah.
And so what's the process for working with local landowners to ensure access to the trails?
So in our area, we contact the farmers and we ask them when they are done using the fields, spreading manure, and just seeing when we can get out there.
And kind of what the route is they want us to go through their field.
Right, yeah, where can we go, where can we not go, where, and they're usually pretty specific on signage, like trail signage. You stay on the trail. You don't go, just because you got a half-mile field to your right, you don't just buzz off through the field and start making tracks and playing in the powder or whatever. It's very important to stay on the trail, because trails will get closed, and landowners usually get pretty upset when you start running over stuff that may be buried in the snow or damaging crops or whatever that can be harvested in the spring that you may not see because it's under the snow.
Some of our trails we have to go out and string it because people don't know how to stay in a straight line.
Yeah, stay into the sign, stay between the markers. And
You're on a field, you can go straight, wide open.
Yeah, it's very important because you start getting upset landowners, and that's the one main trail that goes through that area. If they close their land, then you can't. The whole trail's screwed. You can't ride anywhere. So,
I was also Doug. Do you know if there's any unique or lesser known trails in the area that you recommend people explore?
Oh, around here, the one that I like doing locally, just coming out of Woodsville, goes up towards Swiftwater, up, goes over the Power Line Trail.
Yeah, Power Line Trail.
And
which
I've been up there.
Dan
That's
knows
pretty
it.
good.
Which this year the power companies actually put more gravel in, so if we get snow, we'll test it out with the groomers.
Yeah. I like all the trails up there in Groton, actually, in Topsom and Barrie and all that stuff, all them surrounding areas. Because you come up over the tops of some of those hills and you can look off into the neighboring towns or counties and you can see big farm fields, especially at night if you're out riding, you got the stars and the moon. It's very beautiful out there.
You know, with that, Steve, I used to like riding with my dad when we used to ride from Topsom, go over to Danville, over to Marty's store for lunch.
Yeah.
And just go back through Groton, Beecham, back to Topsom.
Right.
It's always fun ride over there, lots to see. And then always watch out for animals, moose in the air, foxes.
Moose everywhere in Groton.
It's easy to come around a corner, especially if you're out at night. You come around a corner and you might be going a little hot, and you come around a corner and all of a sudden there's a big black spot in front of you and you're like, what the heck? And that's a big moose.
Listen, that happened.
You got to
me
pay
bad one
attention.
night.
That's what I hear anyway. It's never happened to me
I don't know
personally.
what happened to me.
Is there any new trail initiatives or improvements underway for the season?
I know in Vermont, like we're always, everybody's always trying to improve their trails, but especially with all the flooding that Vermont and we've all had, there's spots like this winter they're just trying to fill them with snow, but there's bridges or culverts that need to be replaced. There's gravel that needs to be put back in and smoothed out. I think that's going to be an ongoing thing for quite a while, even after the next couple of years, to get it back up to where it maybe was or close to it.
Right. And how does the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club collaborate with, say, other snowmobile clubs in the region? Dan?
We just call neighboring clubs and see how everything's doing. Call Lisbon. Club south of us is Warren. Just asking them how they made out through the summer.
Good. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll have the weather just right around to see if we're going to have people be able to go on a snowmobile trip this weekend. So Mark Breen's Outdoor Edge weekend forecast is coming right up.
It's the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge on YKR Country.
The Autosaver Group's St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram asks, do your outdoor adventures take you to where you wish you had a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive? At St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, explore their vast inventory of adventure-savvy four-wheel drives and all-wheel drive vehicles ready for you to drive at home. Plus, every St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram deal includes the Big Deal Plus, which is a 2-year unlimited scheduled maintenance plan, which includes free state inspections for life. Stop in today in St. Johnsbury, Vermont, or shop St. Johnsbury Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram online at stjohnsburycdjr.com.
At R&L Archery, we know it's not just about the thrill of the hunt or the size of the fish. It's about the moments that matter most, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, and the stories told by the fire long after the sun is set. It's about the journey, the memories, and the time spent together with friends and family, because these are the moments that truly last a lifetime. R&L Archery, where every adventure begins. Come create your story.
From the Fairbanks Museum in St. Johnsbury, I'm Mark Breen with the Outdoor Edge forecast. January continues to be quiet in terms of active weather systems, at least for us. I don't see any significant change to the snow cover through this weekend, though there's an outside chance we'll see some snow Sunday night into Monday. A minor weather system is currently drifting through, just a little snow in the air, nothing to shovel or play in. As it moves by, some periods of sun and slightly milder readings tomorrow in the 20s to near 30. The weekend will see some changes, starting with gusty south winds on Saturday, running ahead of a cold front. This front doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, so some light snow showers, even mixed with a little rain in the lower valleys as temperatures climb into the 30s Saturday afternoon. Any rain changes back to some scattered snow showers Saturday night, followed by the first installment of colder air on Sunday. Nothing too dramatic, highs in the 20s and some periods of sun. The front stalls southeast of New England Sunday night while a storm runs up along the front. The placement of the front will determine whether we see snow or not, or maybe just snows in Boston instead of here Sunday night into Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Either way, much colder air follows, highs on Monday in the teens, dropping below zero Monday night. The cold weather settles in through the middle of next week. The forecast details: clouds, a few passing flurries or brief snow showers this evening, partial clearing late, lows near 10 above. Friday, variable clouds, sun, and a little warmer, highs 20s to near 30. Friday night, fair early, then increasing clouds, lows in the teens. Saturday, mostly cloudy, breezy, milder. There could be a few afternoon snow showers with highs in the 30s. Saturday night, the snow showers taper off, lows near 20, teens over the hills. And Sunday, variable clouds, some sun, colder, highs 20s to near 30, but falling during the day. I'm meteorologist Mark Breen with the Outdoor Edge forecast.
All right, welcome back to the St. Johnsbury Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge, your source for all things outdoors in Vermont and New Hampshire. I'm your host, Joshua Smith. And once again, we've been talking with Dan Ingerson and Doug Smith of the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club this hour, and along with the familiar voice of WYKR, Steve Batchelder, who's representing the Vermont side of things. What do you guys think of that weather forecast?
Well, there ain't enough snow in it, but
not enough snow.
We might get a little, so I guess we'll take what we can get, right?
And so compared to last year, it seems like, though, there is a little bit more hope that we're going to get more snow. That last year was dry. There wasn't much of anything last year.
Yeah, at least we have snow on the ground right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's true. Yeah, we have at least, it's enough for something. So for the New Hampshire trails, are people riding on them now?
So Groveton opened sometime this week. So you can ride from Groveton north to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So just go on their websites and go on Sled NH, look at their map, and it'll tell you where you can ride, where you can't ride.
Right. And as you mentioned, over in the Vermont side, Steve, there's 60 miles?
Yeah, the Buckaroos of 302 has 16 miles open currently. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So let me go on. What are your final thoughts about snowmobiling this year?
Final thoughts for me, I would just say that everybody that likes to get out there and enjoy the snowmobiling season and riding, make sure they're respectful and thank landowners if they see them out there skiing or walking their dogs or whatever, and then just be respectful to each other as well, and then watch out for the groomers. When the groomers are grooming, like, you can get out of their way a lot easier than they can you. And Dan and Doug might have some more information on that because they actually go grooming over there in New Hampshire.
So when I'm out grooming and I see sleds coming, I'll stop. And I'll wave them by. And they want me to go by. I'm like, no, you go by because you're smaller. So the biggest thing is, after you pass the groomer and you're on that nice carpet, don't spin your track.
Does that make the guy in the groomer seat happy, Dan?
Oh, yeah, I'm very happy. I have some choice words for everybody.
And what about you, Doug?
These guys pretty much covered it. Just watch out for the groomers. I mean, they're hard to see during the day, but at night, those things are usually lit up, so you should be able to see them. But as I said, when my father used to groom in Groton, we had some close calls at night, and you wonder how they couldn't see it, because there's a lot of lights on the groomers, so they're very,
and they have that
very
beacon
visible
for their communicators too, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people have helmet communicators too.
Yeah, be safe. If you find yourself stuck or broke down or in an emergency situation, you don't always have cell service. It's always a good idea to let people know where you're going or how long you plan to be gone. If something happens, you maybe start looking for them. But I know in Groton they have the E911 addresses at trail junctions and stuff like that.
Yeah, New Hampshire has 911 signs at all the intersections.
Yeah. One of the things I don't know a lot about, but what 3 words is a new thing coming out and everybody's getting familiar with. Every 3 meters of the whole world has been designated 3 unique words for every 3 meter. I know that's been talked about a little bit on the emergency services side of things. I don't know if that's going to be coming down the pike fully or if it's just going to be GPS location, but it's good to have options to help find you if you're out in the middle of the woods and you need to be.
You know, I like to say, you know, with snowmobiling, some of the local stuff around here is small. If you have cell service where you're going, fine. But if you're going on big rides, it's probably better, more than one person to go, have a couple of people go. Because if you break down and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you could be there for a while.
Right. Yeah. And so, if people want to learn more about, if people want to learn more about, say, the Buckaroos or the Connecticut Valley Snowmobile Club, what's the best way they can learn more information?
Buckaroos, I believe, have a website and a Facebook page. There's other clubs in Vermont and New Hampshire. I mean, there's VAST. You go on the VAST website, you join the club, you have options of what clubs you want to join, stuff like that. You can find information there as well. But yeah,
same thing with New Hampshire. They have Sled NH. They have everything on there.
All right.
Yeah. NHSA too.
Yep. And I think all the clubs are all looking for members and volunteers. I mean, everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any one club that's...
Even the big clubs up north are hurting.
Yeah. So basically, we'll keep all this information that you're giving us. We have, as you all 3 know, we do have an app. And on that app is all the on-demand episodes of the Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. And on that, we will put into the show notes all this information of these links and information that you guys are saying. So for folks that are just tuning in, you will be able to hear this episode again tomorrow once it's loaded into the app. So
all right. I'll be happy to hear how I sound. I know I sound good.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. I am Joshua Smith, and this is the Chrysler Dodge Jeep Rams Outdoor Edge. And thank you for tuning in.